Well, we basically have all of the plumbing done from here back. We have all of our hoses run, and they are running back through the truck frame, and everything is hooked up to the hose connections that are on the back of the truck here. So now what we have to do is mount all of our hoses down. We've got some brackets that I welded onto that cross member there, and then we have to put a couple of brackets on the side of the frame to secure these hoses and kind of clean this whole mess up a little bit here. And once we get that done, then we can progress a little farther forward on the truck, get the PTO installed, the hydraulic pump, get into where the controls are going to be in the cab, bring them back to the hydraulic valve body, and get the truck itself done, and then build the rail system for it. So we'll go ahead and get these hoses cleaned up and tied up to the side of the frame here. And it looks kind of messy right here right now, but it is what it is. So let's get these brackets on there and get things cleaned up here. Well, for the most part, we have all of the plumbing done from here back. We've got our brackets on the frame that are holding the hoses. We wrapped the hoses with some lay flat manure hose, just so that they're not rubbing on the frame. And then I took a piece of lay flat hose and fastened it to this cross member, and the hoses are just kind of laying on that. And then we, of course, have our brackets setting on the back there, just to kind of hold the hoses so that they're not right down on this cross member. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start with the PTO and the hydraulic pump. I wanted to show you something else here, because I get questions from time to time on this Easy Clean pressure washer. Well, it took a crap here yesterday. We've got it stripped down. We're going to save this portion of it. We did put a new pump on it a while ago. That pump is brand new. But this engine has got a big old mucho hole in it. So rather than get a brand new engine to put on there, we figured we would just go ahead and replace the whole unit itself, and we took all of the good parts off. The gas tank on this thing we had a problem with a while ago. It all broke out, and they never could send me the right gas tank for it. We broke a recoil on it. That's no big deal. So we have a new recoil string in there. Like I said, the pump is new. The battery is good. Got the starter and whatever like that. So we're just going to store that stuff away. Store that as well. I don't know if I'm going to buy an Easy Clean, another Easy Clean, or not, but it would be ideal to hold on to this and maybe buy another one. Then if something happens where it gets run over or something, we at least have something that we can reuse. So Jered's working on the fifth wheel on his Mack. We're working on some other trucks. He's got all of the hoses and everything on this 8110. Old telehandler, that's a lost cause, I think. We might be able to get that going today, and we're switching tires around on trucks to get ready for second cut and haylage here. First cutting, we're able to run with regular street tires, but we have gotten quite a bit of rain here, and we need to run with floats, right? Yeah. And then we've got a truck that we're going to be bringing in here in another few minutes. And we're getting that ready to go to auction. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to break into this transmission here. We have a 10-bolt cover sitting right on the top of the tranny. We're going to pull that off, and we are going to drop the PTO in there. And then I have to decide what I want to do with the controls. On the last 3 trucks that we did like this, I put all of the controls up in the headliner. This truck does not have a bench seat in it. So we're thinking about putting a console in here and then putting everything on the actual console itself. So we've got to dive into that here and figure out what we're going to do there. The one problem up there is you got to run everything down through this column. You got to drill a hole in the floor there, run half the air lines that way, and I think I would just rather get that console to work. So let's get some things tore apart here and we'll see what we can do with a console. Well, this used to be an old cow pasture just north of the heifer barns that are behind my house. This land ain't much good for anything, but we hate to see it get grown up with anything. So there used to be a whole bunch of trees growing right there and shrubs every so often down through there. And we try to mow this once a year. That's rather steep, as you can see. And it gets a little challenging at times. Andrew mowed most of this. Now Jered's jumped in there, and what he'll do is he'll back up that hill there and he'll get most of it. But now he'll climb that part there. Andrew was doing this yesterday. He spun out right there. He'll go as far as he can there. He might have to back up that one or come down over it. Forward. We just put a new frickin' gearbox on that right wing. That was like $2,000. We had that bush hog for 11 years now. It'll come down over that last little spot there. Oh, doing some tillage. This is where we currently have our ag bags that we filled with third cutting last year. What there is an old road right here. Amber Road used to be over here. I think they've moved it a few times and went right up through there, and it was a little too steep. And they moved it over some. But these hills here, they drift over pretty good in the winter time, or back, you know, we used to get snow anyways. That snow would be 20 feet deep right there. But yeah, that'll make this look a little better. They might get down into them trees there some too. So I better get back up to the shop. Let's get some stuff done here. Here's what things look like from up above here. He's just going over the top of the old road here now. He'll slowly work at this and get a majority of it done. Looks like he's gonna walk right up through there now. What's nice about that batwing mower is it's 20 feet wide, so you've got a few feet on each side of the tractor anyways. Oh, Andy, you shouldn't run that many weights on the front of your tractor. Well, this is another reason why we have that tractor on this bush hog. Alright, he's going to keep whacking at it here, so. Alright, I think this is the quietest this shop has been all day. We've had impacts going and air compressors running. And all we hear is a click on the torque wrench, right, gentlemen? About it. Yeah. So we have the floorboard removed, and we also have the cover taken off of the transmission. We're getting ready to drop in the PTO. Nice thing about these Freightliners, they give you a nice access hole in the floor, and they build the cab up real high over the truck frame. So we have our PTO sitting over here on the bench. This guy right here was $2,400. The last hot shift PTO I bought for an Allison automatic was like $1,400. So them bastards went up $1,000 in about a year. So we've got to get that lined up, set it down in there. I don't think we have to remove the transmission dipstick tube. They have that tube over to the right about 2 inches more than what the other trucks were. There's 2 positions on this transmission that you can put that pump or that PTO. You can put it on the top or you can put it on the left side. The left side is tucked in tight to the frame rail, and they are a mongrel to put in. These have been beautiful. I can reach in underneath the cab. I can go down through the floor. Could get all that stuff set. So before we get to working on that, we'll kind of give you a walk around of this truck here. This is truck 10. This is a 2004 Sterling with a C12 engine and a 10-speed transmission in it. They took floats. We had flotation tires on it. We took them off. They had a silage box on there. We took it off. We're going to mount a manure tank on it, and it is going to J. Martin's auction in Waterloo. He's having an auction in July here. There is nothing wrong with this truck. We have actually done some differential work on this. You can see there's a new differential in this front axle. I don't know when we did the rear axle, but that wasn't too long ago. And it also has an updated transmission in it as well. You can kind of see right in there. And if you guys are local to where this auction is, you'll be able to get your hands on a pretty decent truck. The reason why we are getting rid of it is we have bought the Freightliner 10-wheelers in the past couple years, and we have also added a couple of these trailers. And this truck has been more or less sitting, and we figured that the best time to get rid of it would be now because everything works on it. So we do have a 5,000 gallon tank, Husky tank, that is going to go on to this. This has the slide rail system. It has the hydraulic system just like we put on that truck. It has that on this truck. It did have a blown hydraulic line going back to run the Husky pump. They replaced that here the other day, and it is good to go. Right, Nathan? She's ready to roll. So they're going to get the tank on this in a little while, and then I'm not sure if we're going to be able to run this over to the auction today or not, but we are going to send our older. So this has got real nice rubber on it too. All the way beyond legal. And we've got an open shoulder or a closed shoulder tire on there, but all real good rubber. Well, you guys can roll on out with this, I guess. So get the tank on her. Cab's all cleaned out. What did I say? 10-speed transmission, C12, 430 horsepower. Yeehaw. Yeah. Yeah. Alrighty. Let's get this PTO in there. Alright, so we went ahead and removed our cover. We have our gasket sitting in place with a couple of dowel pins sitting in there. We can show you what that looks like from the top side here. We have the two dowel pins, and they will fall into place where there's a couple of blind holes in this PTO. Now I know I'm going to get some comments from the professional PTO installers here that are in the comment section, and they're going to be like, how many shims did you use on that? This is an Allison automatic. It is an RDS, which stands for rough duty service, 4500 transmission. I had to find the section in the manual here to show you guys. First off, do not use sealing compounds because they will generally are incompatible with automatic transmission fluid. Next line, install the special gasket over the guide pins. The rib surface should face outward towards the installer. To ensure proper backlash, we should underline that here for the professionals. Proper backlash and sealing of PTO to transmission. Only use gasket furnished with the PTO. So I have installed a few of these, and yeah, I got that comment quite a few times on the last few videos here that I have done installing these PTOs. This is not like a PTO that goes onto a Road Ranger transmission where you have to set in several gaskets to get the proper distance away from the drive gear that is in the transmission. So we'll go ahead and set this in there. We'll set you guys up. We'll show you how it goes in. Here is the blind holes, the front and back of the left-hand side of the PTO. So that's where the dowel pins are going to set into. And then we have 8 bolts to put in. I am going to hold off on putting the rear ring on the back of the PTO. That's where the pump goes on to, and we're just going to wait to put that on. So let's go ahead and set this into place. They ended up putting the box on 15 that came off of truck 10. Any of you that end up buying that truck at the auction and would like a box to go with that truck, we would sell this box. I did not want to take this over as a multi-unit because I just felt that somebody might not want the whole thing together, and the box is going to sell for pennies on the dollar. This box is 25 foot long, 6 foot sides, 8 foot wide on the inside, 102 inches on the outside. Hydraulic end gate, so on and so forth. The box was built in 05. So this box was built back when I was making them out of rectangular tubing. So this is 1.5 by 3 rectangular tubing upright. So let's go ahead and get this PTO setting into place. Alright, we went ahead and set that into place. Used a rope to guide it down through the hole there so I didn't drop it. I was really nervous about doing anything on this truck with that hole open in the top of the transmission like that, worrying about dropping bolts down in there and everything else. So we've got that covered back up at any rate, and now we'll go ahead and put the 8 bolts into the transmission, holding that PTO down, and then we can clock that flange on the back so that we can get that motor setting into place. Now, on the 3 other trucks that we set up, we did take this dipstick tube off of the transmission, and we ended up turning it about 180 degrees. That came right over the back, and it went out through here. Got the tube right up in behind the cab. It was almost like they made it that way. And the reason why we took that off is because it was awful tight on the front of the PTO and on this right hand side, but there's a lot more room there now. And I don't know if I described it in this segment or the last one, but these transmissions do have 2 positions to mount that PTO, and on this chassis it's easiest to put it on the top. So let's go ahead and get her on there. Well, we have all of the bolts tightened up. I just hooked up the lube line. It's that black line with the green stripes on it. You could just barely see it hooked into the front of the PTO. That goes down the side of the transmission. We'll go ahead and roll in under the transmission, and we'll pull the plug out that is in the side of the tranny, and we'll hook up that line. We'll roll in down underneath here. Here is the line right there, and then the fitting. I'll get you set up right there. Fitting that we need to remove is right there, right here. I don't know if I've got the right size wrench. Underneath here, that one did it. So we're gonna lose a little bit of oil, but we're gonna try to be quick here. Oh, come on. Damn O-rings hung up. Damn O-ring's not coming out with the plug. And this might not be as quick of a process as I want it to be. Well, that old junk. Come on now. There. All right, so we did that process as quick as we could here. Lost a minimal amount of oil, and this damn O-ring got hung up. I thought I cut it with a razor blade. No, I didn't. Oh well, alright. Okay. So now we just have a couple of loom holders that need to be placed here. We've got one that is right here. Alright, so I got this loom holder out. Or I got this bolt out. Hook that loom holder up. That'll just kind of give this pressure lube line a little securement. Alright, so we'll get that tightened up. There's another one up top I'm going to try to get in as well. And then we will put our flange on that the pump is going to bolt to. We're probably going to have to make a couple of different arrangements there to get that on there just the way I want it. So let's get this bolt tight and we'll jump up on top and finish this up. Well, we have our lube line hooked up, have the loom holders, securing that in place. Now what we need to do is we need to dive back down under the transmission, release the wire harness for the actual PTO switch and the PTO indicator, bring that up here and plug it into the PTO. Now this truck has a factory installed PTO switch right there. Two of these that we have done so far have come with the factory switch, and two did not have it. So we'll just bring that harness up through, plug it in, And then we can put our flange on the rear that the pump is going to go on to. So ironically enough, the wire harness is zip tied right to the actual side mount PTO bracket. So earlier we were talking about the two options that you have as far as where this PTO can be installed, and this is the other option down here on the side of the transmission. And as you can see, it would just make things really tight to bring that hydraulic pump into it, and it is tough. So we'll cut that zip tie there, pull this harness up to the top, get it plugged in, zip tie it all back together, and work on our pump flange and pump installation. There's that little bit of excess oil right there. We'll go ahead and wipe that off. Alrighty. Well, we have everything plugged in. We just went ahead and installed the pump flange on the back side of the PTO. I just hooked up the batteries, and we're going to go ahead and start this up just to make sure we don't have any leaks on the PTO. I think I gotta hit the brake pedal in order for it to start. Alright, we better dive in underneath this quick. Make sure that lube line's not leaking down below. We are good there. We have our PTO light. That's turning on. Engage. We are turning. We'll go ahead and shut the PTO off. However, it is going to continue turning because there's no load against it. Sounds like we have an air tank leaking. Gotta turn the drain off here. Got another one leaking right here. That drain is off. That drain is off. I have to check. I don't know if there's a drain on that other tank. There should be. We'll just let this run a little while longer here. That one's off too. So, so now we'll go ahead and install the pump, and then we can build our bracket accordingly here. This is still airing up, of course. No sense in letting the air up all the way. We have to evacuate the air out of one of these tanks to hook up our air control supply. So we'll go ahead and shut this off. All right, now we will mate up the hydraulic pump. We'll go ahead and just set that in there. Hopefully this exhaust isn't too hot. I unhooked the elbow here just so that I could get myself into there. So we'll set the pump up, and then we've got to build a support bracket to hold that pump up in the air, and we're going to build that bracket right up off of the top of the transmission there. So we'll join up with you in a little while here.